Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome everyone. I hope you all had a refreshing break. We'll be starting the second session shortly, so please make sure you're settled in. And now let's move on to our second session. I'm pleased to introduce our next speaker, Ms. Adela Hemelikova, who will be sharing her expertise with us. And Ms. Adela is highly experienced in her field, and we are excited to hear her perspective today. And she's going to bring us some presentation that will be potential of West Sumatran marine and coastal biodiversity for ecotourism. And please join me in welcoming Ms. Adela Hemelikova. And please enjoy the presentation and take note as Ms. Adela present her insight. And for the participant who will ask any question, please raise your hand during the presentation and I'll be give you time to ask your question. And for Miss Adela, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Nagy, for a very nice introduction, and good afternoon, everyone. I also would like to thank to Pak Ad and to the whole team from the biology department for invitation and the opportunity to give a presentation about marine biodiversity and conservation. So okay, I will share the screen. I hope you can see it.
Yes, already seen.
Great. Yeah, so I will be presenting in English, but then if anyone wants to ask something, you can ask in Indonesian. I will try to reply in Indonesian as well. Yeah, so the topic of my presentation is potential of West Sumatran marine and coastal biodiversity for ecotourism. And I will be particularly focusing on sea turtles. And yeah, how this presentation is gonna be break. So I divided in, let's say, four parts to give you a full background of the topic. So as an introduction, I will talk about sea turtles generally, about what species are there in Sumatra, their biology and ecology. Then we will move to the threats and why we need to protect the sea turtles and how to do it. So that's the conservation part. And finally, we will move to some potentials for ecotourism, because as part of some conservation activities, we can also promote tourism, and tourism can help us to sustain the conservation or to run the conservation programs in a long term. Yeah, and at the end, I hope that there will be some discussion and we can continue with the topic and have some chat. So let's move to sea turtle biology and ecology. So as you probably know, the sea turtles are reptiles, even though they are living in the sea. So as a reptiles, they breathe with the lungs, and they are also tied to oviposition to the terrestrial environment. So they reproduce in the sea, but the females are coming up to the beach to lay the eggs. There are currently 7 species of sea turtles in the world, and Indonesia has 6, or from the last year, 7 species of these turtles are living in Indonesia. So that means that all sea turtle species that we have in the world are living in Indonesia. So Indonesia is the only country in the world with having all turtle species, which is absolutely incredible. And in Sumatra, there are 4 sea turtle species living. And every sea turtle species have a little bit different key role in a marine ecosystem. So they are really quite important in the ecosystem because most of the species are food specialists. So for example, the leatherback turtle, which is on the left, that's the largest of the sea turtles. Its carapace length can be up to 2 meters, so it's really huge animal. But this animal preys only on jellyfish, so it's one of very few predators of jellyfish in the sea, and they are important part of the food web because jellyfish, or the main prey of jellyfish, is zooplankton, which consists also from fish larvae and fish eggs. So like technically, if the populations of leatherback turtles are wiped, we lose the largest predator of the jellyfish, and this will directly impact fish populations in our seas. And then of course us as humans, because we are quite heavily dependent on the marine resources. Then in the middle we have a green turtle, and this turtle is, after it reaches maturity, it's almost solely vegetarian. So its main food is a seagrass. So green turtles are helping to maintain seagrass beds, and by chewing the seagrass, they are maintaining the nutrient cycle in the sea. And then on the very right, there is a hawksbill turtle. That's another specific turtle species that is highly specialist in terms of the food. And hawksbill turtle is often called as an architect of the coral reef, and that's because hawksbills are preying on coral sponges. So not on the coral, but on the sponges, jamur karang, that is living within the coral reef. And in this way, hawksbills are maintaining the balance in the coral reefs, because otherwise the sponges are growing much faster than the corals. So they are making the space for the corals to grow, but also hawksbill turtles are creating a space for other species to live in the coral reef. So these three species are very good examples of the food specialists and the importance of the sea turtles in the sea. And now we will move to the life cycle of the sea turtles, because the life cycle of turtles is quite unique, I would say. So as I mentioned at the beginning, the female turtles are coming up to the beach to lay the eggs. They are usually coming during night or very early in the morning, because there are much less predators at the sea. It's not also that hot, etc. So the female turtle is with its hind flippers digging up the hole at the top part of the beach in the sand to lay the eggs. And in every nest we can say that there is in average about 100 eggs in one clutch, which seems quite a lot, but as biologists you know that there are species that have that produce a lot of let's say a lot of offspring, but the mortality is high. And then there are species that produce, you know, like 1 or 2 offspring in a couple of years, but the mortality is lower. So the marine turtles are the example of species that are producing a lot of, let's say, offspring, but the mortality is quite high. So after a turtle finishes egg laying, again with the hand flippers, the turtle covers the nest, and then the turtle returns back to the sea. So there is no maternal care in a sea turtles as a all at all. That's also quite common among reptiles. And then the nest is incubating on its own. The incubation time is something about 50 up to 60 days, depending on the species, on the condition, and on the conditions on the beach. But within less than 2 months, if the conditions on the beach were good, a small hatchlings hatch. Again, the hatching usually happens during night or very early in the morning. So the hatchlings avoid predators, heat on the beach, and heat on the beach. And from the once the hatchlings hatch, they are very capable. They are very capable of living on their own. So they don't need any maternal care. They are just ready to go, and they run towards the ocean. They have quite a lot of energy and quite a lot of strength. That it's possible thanks to the yolk sac that they have at the bottom. So basically, in the middle of the belly. So this yolk sac provides them a nutrition for the first days to survive. So they don't have to search for food at all. So once they enter the ocean, they can swim as far as possible from the coast. During the process of hatching, up to running towards the sea, there are also happening like several, let's say, natural instincts and several quite crucial processes for a sea turtle life. One of them is called imprinting, and that means that these small hatchlings are basically imprint the beach they hatched, so they remember the exact place, and they are able to return to that place in the future after they reach maturity to reproduce, and if they are females, to lay the eggs. So the sea turtles are migratory species, but for the reproduction, they are returning to the place where they originally hatched. This behavior is called natal homing, and sea turtles are quite famous for it because they migrate thousands of kilometers in the sea, but then they are able to return to the very same beach for reproduction. So for the hatchlings, it's very crucial that they can hatch and climb up from their nest up to the beach, to the nest, to the surface on their own, and they can run towards the ocean on their own. So they remember and imprint the place. So this, let's say, phenomenon is already quite well understood in the sea turtles. But on the other hand, other aspects of hatchlings, of life of the hatchlings when they enter the sea, is still very little understood. So that's why we called the first year of the turtles as a lost years, because they are very difficult to track, to observe, to spot in the sea, and there is still very little information we know about them. Basically, after they reach maturity, we already know their places where they prey, where they forage, and we know that after they are strong enough that they return to the proximity of the beach or island of origin to reproduce and to lay eggs again. So that was in a nutshell life cycle of a turtles. And as a life cycle of the sea turtles is quite specific, this creates also, let's say, quite a lot of challenges or specifics for sea turtle conservation, in which I will talk in a couple of minutes. But firstly, we will discuss some of the threats to the sea turtles, so why they are threatened, and with some practical examples in Sumatra. So in the region of Southeast Asia, including Sumatra, there are recorded up to 80 to 90 declines in the region, and the sea turtles are listed on the IUCN Red List as either critically endangered. That's for example a hawksbill turtle, as endangered, or as a vulnerable. So obviously the situation with the sea turtles is not very good, and actually the population in Southeast Asia and Western Pacific are classified as the most endangered in the world, and the estimates show that in the past 150 years there were harvested more than 9 million of the turtles in Southeast Asia, and that Indonesia is the largest exporter of the turtle product. So approximately 30% of the international trade is from or to Indonesia, and that's a very huge number. And if you look at these graphs or figures from the past, say 30 years, you see obviously that Indonesia or Coral Triangle, or so including Philippines, Malaysia, that this Coral Triangle is always in the red. But what maybe it would be good to identify what we are talking about if we say that or what are the reasons behind harvest of the sea turtles and their international trade. So in a sea turtles, traditionally for centuries, there are consumed or used all turtle parts. The most common part that is used are eggs. Then another part, meat and other derivatives like blood, fat, and bones. The meat is usually for consumption, for subsistence, or it can be also as a delicacy. Other derivatives like fat, bones, and blood are mostly, let's say, for traditional medicine or some other cultural celebrations. And the last part that is used from the turtles is a tortoise shell. Tortoise shell, or sisik in Indonesian, that's a material that is obtained only from hawksbill turtles, because hawksbill turtles have a carapace or scutes that have, let's say, chocolate yellow golden color, so with very nice pattern, and the carapaces, or specifically the scutes of the hawksbill turtles, are then processed, manufactured to manufacture different like decorative products like jewelries or other parts or other products. And all of these parts are also used in Sumatra, including West Sumatra. Even in Padang, you can still find places where turtle eggs are sold. For example, if you go to, I don't remember the name of the street of the jalan, but it's basically in front of Masjid Al Hakim. You know, the white beautiful mosque. So on this street you can find the turtle egg crate sellers on the small stalls. Then in Mentawai there is still high consumption of all turtle parts, so eggs, meat, other derivatives for traditional cultural religious or even medicinal purposes, and tortoise shell is used as well in Sumatra. Yeah, so another examples of Sumatra. So you can see how the raw unprocessed scutes look like, and then when it's processed, for example, into the bracelets, into glank. Sometimes also the whole turtles are stuffed to make a wall decoration. And what is becoming a larger issue, not only in Indonesia but worldwide, is online trade. So the online trade is, while let's say the local markets are being more and more clandestine. That means that the sellers are hiding what they sell, what they sell, and this like open markets are quite hidden. You have to know to who contact to get turtle eggs or turtle meat. So online trade is really on a rise. And if you, for example, go to Shopee, Lazada, or Tokopedia and put there I don't know, gelang sisik or something like this, you will find many sellers that are selling products from tortoise shell. So let's move from turtle use and trade to other threats to sea turtles. One of the current largest threats to sea turtles is climate change, because as a reptiles, or as in many other reptile species, sea turtles have temperature dependent sex determinations. So that means that during the incubation time, the temperature in the nests affects whether the hatchlings in a clutch will be males or females. The point of the, let's say, the point of the decision, or it's 27.7 degrees of Celsius. And a nice memo how to remember it is that hot chick, that if the nest is hot, there will be more females. If the temperature in the nest is colder, there will be more males. How to easily remember this? There is a nice memo: hot chicks and cool dudes. So obviously the climate change is about the temperature is rising globally. So what we are facing now is that many sea turtle populations produce much more females. So we are talking about the feminization of the sea turtle populations around the world. And there were already studies that show that more than 95 of the hatchlings produced on a beach, for example, on a Great Barrier Reef in Australia. So there more than 95% of the hatchlings are females, which obviously for a population is very very huge threat that is affecting severely the survival of the populations. And then besides the temperature, there are also other aspects that climate change impacts. Among these, it's a rise in the sea levels. So there is a threat of inundation of sea turtle nesting beaches. And then, of course, warmer ocean temperatures in general that has negative impact on food resources of sea turtles, but also of any other obvious, or of course of any other marine turtle species, because for example coral reefs as well as seagrass beds are quite sensitive to the temperature, and especially coral reefs are bleaching. So that means that turtles that are preying on coral sponges or some invertebrates or jellyfish, that their food is on a decline, and there are already turtle populations that were proven to starve because of the climate change effects. And then of course there are many other human-made threats that includes plastic pollution. So either a plastic in the sea that can be ingested by the animals. Especially here, you on this photo you can see a plastic bag, and a plastic bag can be misidentified by a turtle as a jellyfish, and then consumed, which then leads to many industrial issues, but also another types of pollutions, typically ghost nets, and entanglement of the marine turtles in a long lines or old fishing nets. Of course, the plastic pollution on the beach is also a big issue, not only for adult females, because it's much more difficult for them to nest on the beach that is highly polluted. They can also get injured from glass or anything else. But plastic pollution or in general debris on the beach is a threat to small hatchlings as well, because when they are running, or even when they are in the process of hatching and of coming up to the surface, then the debris that is in the sand can constrict them of climbing up. But also when they are running towards the ocean, anything that is on the beach, so the plastic, plastic garbage or anything, makes them more difficult to run and to overcome, to climb over these debris. So they are losing their energy, they are losing their strength. It's losing them, or it's slowing them. So obviously the predators have more time to catch them, or they can get stuck, for example, inside of a plastic cup. We are talking, for example, about pop me. You know pop me, right? That's the me in a glass. So once a small hatchling enters accidentally this cup, most of the hatchlings are not able, to return or to find the way back, and they just get stuck inside, and yeah, at the end they will die inside of Popme or Aqua Glass or things like these. Another human-made threat is definitely coastal development. So that the sea turtles are literally losing their nesting beaches, and then it takes decades or hundreds of years until they are able to recolonize another place for nesting. And yeah, still we are not at the end of the threads, but this gonna be quicker. So with the larger let's say larger demand for in a fishing industry, and the larger boats and better nets or other gear that we have available to catch a fish, there is also the highest risk of a bycatch. In some areas where there is a high boat transportation or boat tourism, and there are no, let's say, speed regulations or other regulations, there is high risk of the boat strikes. So the accidents of the sea turtles with the boat engines that are often very fatal to the sea turtle. And then with the pollution generally, there is a high correlation or high connection between turtle disease, the wild population disease in the sea, and the rise of the disease among the turtles. So this turtle in the middle, it suffers from fibrilloma papillomatosis. That's one of the cancer form in a turtles. And then the eggs here in a lab, they were infected by Fusarium, which negatively affect the hatching success. So that was all about the threats, and we will move to conservation part and how to protect the sea turtles. What are appropriate methods for conservation and for the management? So the most common method for conservation of sea turtles is the protection of the nesting sites, typically through ranger programs. That means that we have a team that is based on the beach or on an island, and this team is routinely monitoring the sea turtle activity and protecting the beach, typically to reduce for example, to reduce the poaching of the eggs, to eliminate other threats. So, for example, predators, to collect the garbage so the beach is clean, etc. The data that are typically collected is the nesting and hatching success. So how many nests were laid, and then how many nests successfully hatched, also produced the hatchlings, the predation risks, and then is often monitored also beach profile, erosion, and waves. And based on these data that are measured and then evaluated or analyzed, there are conducted further conservation strategies. One example from Sumatra, from Aceh province, where we collaborate with ecosystem impact. So here there is one of the ranger programs. And sea turtles, there is one of the largest populations of sea turtles in western Indonesia. There are more than 2,000 nests let every year, which is quite large number. And the sea turtles on Bangkaru Island became an umbrella species for Bangkaru's protections, because besides of having one of the largest population of sea turtles in western Indonesia, the Bangkaru Island is still covered with the primary forests. There were no human settlement before, and it's inhabited by many other threatened and also endemic species. So there are several endemic individuals that are inhabiting this island. And the protection of the sea turtles on this island is done through a ranger program. So there are rangers coming every morning and early morning and every night to the beach to protect the turtles. On the other hand, the protection of the turtle nests on Bangkaru is done in a natural way. So the turtle nests are left to hatch like in situ. So there is no manipulation with the female turtles and no manipulation with the nests or with the eggs or hatchlings. So everything is done in a natural way. One of the other approaches in a nesting site protection, and you might heard about this before, is the nest relocation. Nest relocation means that we are moving turtle nest to the safer part of the beach. Typically, on this photo here, when a turtle lays eggs somewhere in the middle of shrubbery or bush, where it would be very difficult or almost impossible for eggs to develop, because otherwise here it would be completely overgrown by the roots. Or typically we need to move the nest from the part of the beach where is high inundation, because high inundation would destroy the incubation process as well. So in order that we can protect or increase the produce of hatchlings, we are moving the turtle eggs to the safer part of the beach. How it's done? Yeah, here is another example, from Taman Wisata Perairan Pie in Padang, right in front of Padang. So how is done the nest relocation? Typically, when the turtle female finishes laying, the eggs are moved to the safer part of the beach. It can be like just moving the turtle nest a couple of meters to the different part, or it can be moved to a dedicated part of the beach that is called hatchery. Usually it can have many shapes, but usually it's some part of the beach that is kind of marked. It has signs and etc. But there are several aspects or several SOPs that should be followed during the nest relocation. One of them is that the relocation of eggs should be done within 2 hours after nesting, because if you do it after a couple of hours or after longer time, the embryos in the eggs already start to develop. So if you start manipulating with the eggs and like shaking them, not like on purpose, but when you are holding the eggs and manipulating with them, you can destroy the embryo development. And also you should, when doing the nest relocation, you should follow the shape and the measurements of the initial nest. So the initial nest should be measured, how it is deep and wide, and then very same nest should be dig for the relocation place. So even though a hatchery or nest relocation can be in some cases necessary, for example, in the places where there is extremely high poaching or predation rate, or inundation rate. So to save the nests and to make sure that there is at least some hatching, and not zero hatching. With hatchery, there is always a huge responsibility, because you have to remember that once you start relocating the turtle nests, you have to monitor them 24/7. It's very demanding for maintenance. You have to be there when the hatchlings hatch, so someone releases them directly to the sea, so they are not eaten by predators, for example, by birds. So they are not losing their strength running inside the hatchery, etc. Another aspect of the hatchery is that if you are accumulating nests and eggs at the same place, there is a higher risk of outbreak of some bacteria or fungus, including the fusarium, if you remember the eggs in the lab that are negatively affecting the hatching development. So, for example, you should move regularly the place of the hatchery at least once a year to make sure that there are not a lot of bacteria and fungus that can negatively adverse development. There are for not only for the hatchery management, but in general for the nesting beach protection, there are several international publications, standards and recommendations how to do it properly, and I will share later this presentation. So when someone is interested in looking more at the methodology on nesting site protection, you can. Then another methods how to protect sea turtles. This includes definitely also coral reef and seagrass rehabilitation, because species cannot survive without its natural habitat. And as in nature, everything is connected. As conservationists, we have to think in a much broader aspect than in, okay, we just have to have more turtle hatchlings. That's definitely not enough, and we have to move much further. So one of the other methods is that, yeah, we will help, or we should, to restore the whole habitat. So this can be done either through planting the coral fragments or planting seagrass and rehabilitate these habitats. And then, as I was talking about, and you already know, the sea turtles are highly migratory species, and they are living among the vast areas at sea. So definitely protecting only the nesting sites, it's not enough, and we have to focus also on at sea at sea management. So what we should do, or what we can do is to manage well the sea in general. So this can be done through establishing new marine protected areas and no-take zones. That this will help not only to the sea turtles but also to other marine species. Another thing that we can do is that we will increase surveillance at sea. This can be done through community patrols and some reporting system. At the same time, thanks to these initiatives, we can provide some alternative livelihoods and employments to the to local people and local communities. And when we are talking about local communities, so the local people are always very crucial part of any conservation activity we are doing. So one of our main targets in a conservation should be to provide alternative livelihoods and some sustainable development practices. So again, when we are developing a conservation program or any activity, we are involving people and providing employment in ranger programs, or we can help establishing small businesses. This can be directly connected with some ecotourism activities, not only as a local people being, for example, the guides or provide some services, but also through some handicraft activities, because with the higher number of tourists, there will be also definitely higher number for souvenirs. So all these steps, when done, I don't not correctly, but simultaneously, as a part of larger conservation programs, that all very helps to decrease the dependence on the sea turtles in terms of dependence on a sea turtle use, consumption, and trade, and helps to protect the sea turtles and the marine environment generally. And with finishing up with the conservation, we can finally move to ecotourism. We still have some time left. And when talking about ecotourism, so what is ecotourism? So in ecotourism, we are aware of the fact that when we are going, I don't know, on holiday or somewhere as a tourist, we are aware or taking care about the nature, and we do not want to do any damage to the nature. And with this, there is connected that the natural ways are always better because the nature is already perfect. So basically, we are asking how we can increase tourism without negatively impacting the nature. And this is also related to education and awareness raising as well. So how to do it properly in a way that the nature is not impacted negatively. I will start with example of let's say ecotourism activity that is not very good or desired or recommended, let's say. Maybe some of you had already opportunity to visit centers that are called sea turtle conservation centers. And for these centers, it's quite typical that there are sea turtles kept, or typically hatchlings that are kept. with an argument that turtle hatchlings are not released directly, but they are kept in a small tanks or pools because they need to get bigger and stronger, so they have better chances to survive in the sea. Unfortunately, there is no scientific basis that keeping a turtles in tanks is improving their survival in the sea. In fact, there are there is scientific basis that this practice is disrupting the natural behavior and development of the sea turtles as well as their health. If you remember from the introduction when I was talking about sea turtle ecology and biology and how many processes are there happening in the small hatchlings when they are climbing up from the nests and running towards the ocean. For example, the imprinting process that they have, the yolk sac, and that they have to swim as far as possible from the coast to avoid the predators, to remember the beach when they hatch, to be able to move or migrate in the ocean, and then to come back for the reproduction to the place where they hatch. So this is exactly what disrupts when you hold the turtle, that's exactly what disrupts the natural behavior and development. It directly impacts the imprinting process, so the turtles can forget their migration routes. Of course, if you keep an individual for weeks, months, or years in a small tank, it will negatively affect the muscles and lungs. Imagine, for example, imagine yourself if you are locked in a tiny room for, I don't know, let's say 2 months, where you can make couple of steps, like 2, 3, 4, 5, but it's not like that you could stretch properly or move properly, do any sport. And then after 2 months, someone opens the door and tell to you, run 10 kilometers. So without any preparation, being just locked in a tiny room, you would have a lot of difficulties to run 10 kilometers. This is something the same after you release hatchling or turtle that was 4 months kept in a small place. The muscles will be weak, the lungs will be weak, and this animal or this individual have very low chances of survival. Another aspect is injuries and diseases. So when you keep turtles in a small tanks there with no, not enough in a water, then there is high risk of developing or outbreak of some bacteria and fungus again. And if you release these animals to the wild populations, there is high risk of transmission to the wild populations. Another aspect is searching for food. Often turtles that are kept in a captivity are not provided with high quality and sufficient food because they are food specialists. So obviously no one is going to catch jellyfish for sea turtles because one sea turtle, or for example, leatherback turtle can consume several kilograms of jellyfish in a day. Same for the seagrass. So the sea turtles are very demanding for the food. So then the natural food is often substituted for some low quality food, and then turtles will not be able to look for the food they need in a while. And then, of course, many others. One of the things I would like to mention is also a welfare issue. This is connected with something, or this is connected with the human behavior, because with changing this conservation practice, we also have to little bit change a human behavior, because we should be aware that wild animals do not like to be touched, even though for us it's nice to touch a wild animal and interact with it. For the wild animals, it's not that nice experience as for us, and it creates a high level of stress of them. So this is another aspect we should be aware about. So just to conclude this part of the ecotourism. So unfortunately, based on the research, the head starting, that's the practice, that's the name for the practice of holding the hatchlings, is not recommended conservation practice. So being it not recommended conservation practice, it means that it's not also recommended ecotourism practice, because in ecotourism we are thinking how during our holidays we are positively or negatively impacting the nature. So this one is definitely not recommended. Actually, last year there was issued a new publication on a head starting practice by several international organizations, which concluded that the holding of the hatchlings and head starting is not recommended practice, and this publication recommends as a ecotourism practices other methods, which I will be talking about now. So obviously, if we want to protect the sea turtles, we have to involve people. And also ecotourism can be a really powerful tool to promote conservation. So I will start with let's say providing some solution or ideas how to solve education and awareness raising. A good practice how to do it is by applying a method that is called learning by doing. What does it mean? Basically, that we have sort of a museum or facility that resembles to a museum. So we provide simulations, models, toys, some IT technologies, so that people can experience everything, but they don't have to necessarily directly interact with the live animals. So for the visitor, that means that they get very interesting and unique experience, and they contribute to turtle conservation for city government or anyone who is operating these centers. They can become a good example for other places, and it's also more effective for management, because if you don't have to keep turtles in a small tanks, this will definitely reduce some operational costs or maintenance costs that are for sea turtle facilities always very, very high. How it can look like? So there are nowadays we have, I would say, infinite opportunities how to educate people. So we can use various models, IT technologies, with AI, artificial intelligence, everything is possible now. So we should take every opportunity from this and do it. So this is one example from Costa Rica in Tortuguero, which is one of the most famous places in the world for sea turtle education. Another example from America, from Florida. So you can see also here very nice models of the sea turtles, where you can, you know, touch everything, make photos, etc. One example from Czech Republic, from my country. And if I look now from the window, it's snowing here. It's quite funny. So we are a landlocked country. We have no sea. We have no sea turtles. But you know, quite a lot of people from our country are coming to holiday somewhere to the sea. So we also want to educate them that if they are somewhere on a holiday, how they should behave. So they are or they can contribute to the sea turtle protection. So we have developed several educational programs for children. We are using models and toys, and the students can try some nest relocation, or you know, doing some research activity with the models of the sea turtles. So it's practical learning, or they can use tablets to collect and analyze data, etc. Another example from Indonesia, because yeah, Indonesian people are super creative. So one of my friends from Banyuwangi, he's creating these beautiful sea turtle models. So again, you can, you know, touch everything, you can see everything from the very close. They look like the sea turtles. You just don't have to have the live turtles to show some things, and the models will not be stressed that someone is touching them or taking the photos with them. So that's basically the perfect solution. But we are not talking about education and awareness raising, right? We also want to find a solution for conservation. So when in a conservation, we should prioritize natural and semi-natural programs. So because of course, we do not only want to protect the sea turtles, but also other species and surrounding habitats. So in these cases, we need to make sure that hatchlings are released immediately after hatching if we use hatchery. And we should really closely and in detail monitor and evaluate before we decide to build a hatchery. And if we have a conservation program that is well established, we can directly apply or start developing some ecotourism programs. That means that we can have guests or tourists that are joining rangers for monitorings and for the patrols on the beach. That means, of course, that we have to some degree limit the number of guests. We cannot take, you know, a large number of the people on the beach. We should take only the small group. So there should be some quotas, how much people can join for a patrol or for a one monitoring. That requires to build and follow SOPs and code of conducts for turtle watching. But these SOPs and code of conducts are available, so you can use those that are already used in other programs and just apply it to your program. And with having guests and tourists joining the ranger programs, you can get some income that can at the end help to your conservation program, because you know, guests will pay, I don't know, for the tours, for the transportation, for food, for accommodation. So this can provide so many opportunities for alternative income for so many people, that at the end it's much more effective to protect the sea turtles than to harvest eggs or sea turtles at sea. Definitely, besides providing this tourism related services, you can start running also some handicraft activities, so people can sell their souvenirs, or the products they create, and again, this can be a great source of incomes for many families. And we are almost at the end, and we will still have some time for discussion. So to conclude, what are the potentials for West Sumatra? I would say that experiential learning is has quite a large potential. So we can apply learning by doing. So having simulations, models, toys, using IT technology. So we can have in Padang facilities that provide high standard turtle conservation that follows international recommendations. This can be done in natural or, if needed, in semi-natural condition, but that the hatchlings are released directly after hatching. But still, this can be a good part of our education, socialization, and tourism place. At the end, it's win-win solution, because that's the best what we can do for the turtles. It's much better conservation, much better arrangement, and much better management. For the visitors, they will get interesting and unique experiences. They will see turtles that are in a healthy conditions, because I would say no one is happy when a person sees a turtle with, or any animal with a disease, with being held in a poor condition. So visitors will see, if they join on a monitoring or patrol, they will see a healthy wild animal, and they will know that they are responsibly contributing to turtle conservation. What does it mean for city government or for the local community? That they are a good example for other places, that in case there is some facility, there are reduced some operational costs. And for the local communities, of course, that there are more opportunities for income, more opportunities for employment. One last thing I want to mention, that last year, with my colleague Petra, we have published a small book. It's called Conscious Traveler Guide. It's about raising awareness of wildlife tourism, and there are several chapters. One of them is also dedicated to reptiles, and specifically to the sea turtles. We have both English and Indonesian version. So if you don't want to get pusing because reading in English, you can download the Indonesian one. And before I finish, I just want to say that we are always happy to have new students or anyone who is interested in sea turtle conservation and research. We are already, I don't know, 3 years, I would say 3 years, or 2.5 years, collaborating with biology department at Andalas University, and we already had several students being with us in the field. And one of the biology alumni is working with us on a Bangkaru project. So we are more than happy to have more students from your department. So if you would be interested, let us know. And that's all from me. And we can go to the discussion. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Miss Adela. Very nice and very interesting presenting about sea turtle. And next, we are going to the discussion session. And for the participant who would like to ask any question, please raise your hand. And for this session, we will limit it to 2 questions first. Okay, for all participants, if you have any question, please raise your hand.
Or you can
Uh,
type it as well.
yeah, maybe as well during waiting for any question, I have some question for you. And in certain months, the coastal area will face a high wave due to the seasonal change, as recently
Mhm.
experienced along the coast of Sumatra in a few months ago. And this, of course, will greatly impact effort to development ecotourism in coastal regions. I like to ask for your opinion on the best way to address this issue so that existing ecotourism can remain productive during these challenging periods. I think it's not only giving impact to the ecotourism, but always to giving impact to the sea circle. Okay, that's
Yeah.
my question.
Thank you for the question. I agree with you. And in like conservation is also about making a compromise. You know, we cannot forbid everything to the people, so we have to respect that people also, and myself as well. I want to, when I'm in Indonesia, I definitely want to go to the beach, doing things. So it's something we have to be aware about, and find a solutions, find some alternatives, having discussions with people, and find a solution that will be good for the people, but also good for the nature. So if we are talking about a coastal or beach development, for example, we can discuss things like whether we can at least restrict some access to maybe part of the beach during a sea turtle nesting season, or maybe that we will restrict access during the night when the sea turtles are nesting and when they hatch, so we do not disrupt them. Because we as a people, we want to go to the beach during the day. We want to have, I don't know, lunch or a snack there. We want to go swimming, and then during the night we can go back and leave the space for the turtles. So these are exactly the solutions we are looking for, so we can coexist together with the nature.
Thank you, Ms. Ayala. And for all participants, if you have any question, please raise your hand or write it in the chat column below. Mungkin kepada Pak Aad jika ada tambahan, Pak. Pak Aad.
Atau kalau ada pertanyaan dalam bahasa Indonesia bisa juga ya.
Oke, Miss. Oh iya, saya punya sedikit rasa ingin tahu, Miss. Kenapa Anda memiliki minat ke penyu gitu? Karena tadi di salah satu slide yang Anda tampilkan, Anda mengatakan bahwa Anda berasal dari negara yang tidak
Oke.
memiliki pulau
Iya.
gitu. Tidak memiliki pantai.
Iya. Ya, saya sering ditanya itu, tapi itu hanya apa ya? Saya sebenarnya lebih suka hutan dan gunung ya.
Ya.
Tapi terdampar ke terdampar ke penyu. Nggak ceritanya bahwa dulu waktu saya masuk S2 jadi ada apa internship ke Indonesia. Jadi internship itu saya mengikuti dan karena programnya bagus dan saya pengen lanjut lanjut lagi dan setelah itu saya juga masuk S3 PhD. Makanya saya sampai sekarang di penyu. Ya tapi ya saya sangat suka penyu, saya sangat suka kerja kerja saya dan itu kayak perkembangan like natural development dari semua kegiatan yang kami lakukan bersama dengan tim kami. Dan ya penyu memang hewan hewan yang hebat, yang sangat menarik dan unik. Jadi saya sangat senang saya bisa kerja dalam konservasi dan penelitian penyu ya. Tapi kalau saya lagi liburan ya saya sangat suka ke hutan dan ke gunung.
Sangat mengasihkan ya. Oke, mungkin kepada partisipan yang ada di dalam room, jika ada yang ingin ditanyakan, karena waktu kita masih ada, mungkin disilahkan jika ingin bertanya.
Sorry, I have a question.
Oke, disilahkan
Okay,
Pak Akifullah.
Okay. In my country, which is in Malaysia, some food and beverages company has implemented that banning the usage of plastic straw or even a plastic bag in order to save the turtle. I want to ask a question: is this strategy is very effective in preventing the harm on the turtle, or it just still debatable topic it is?
That's a good question. Like generally to prevent plastic is good for everything, not only for the sea turtles. And we as humans, we have to admit that we are also quite lazy, that we are taking the easy solution and not thinking about, yeah, if we can take something in a plastic bag and something single use, like, I don't know, when I want to get a coffee, I can get it in a plastic cup and I don't have to think that in the morning I have to take a my cup to later order a coffee. So like generally to find a solutions for garbage, like recyclation and management is demanding. So anything we can do to reduce plastic is great. And as people are lazy, we have to come up with the tools like having a fees, or that you will not get a plastic bag gratis, but you have to pay something for it, or that you have to pay deposit when you are buying something in a plastic bottle. So these are the tools that can help reduce the plastics, and I believe they are they are good. And once we have like more people, let's say, behaving more responsibly or thinking about how much plastic or other garbage they produce, then it will, that it will spread and it will motivate other people to behave in a same way. So I believe these solutions or alternatives are good, but maybe then to the recycling is a good, but at the very first place we should focus on how to reduce a production of the plastic at the very beginning.
Kepada Akifullah, apakah sudah terjawab pertanyaannya?
Yes, miss. Thank you for the answer. Okay.
Thank you for the question.
Oke, pada partisipan lain yang masih ingin bertanya, disilahkan.
Oh yeah, I have another question. Is it we know that most of the turtle species are quite threatened nowadays, right? Is it just because the factor by the caused by the human, or natural uh, natural factor like because of the disease related to threaten, right?
Like everything is my answer won't be very clear, I'm afraid, because everything is closely connected. So most of the threats to the turtles or generally to any other species are human made. So even though, for example, I don't know, let's say climate change, we can consider it as something, a natural that is happening naturally, and there were periods in history where temperature was rising or decreasing, but we as humans are increasing this change. So yeah, I would say that there are more human made threats.
Okay, Miss. Thank you for the answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oke. Terima kasih atas pertanyaannya. Mungkin sekali lagi saya tanyakan, apakah masih ada yang ingin bertanya? Oke. Mungkin karena sudah tidak ada yang bertanya lagi, ini adalah akhir dari sesi kita pada kali ini. Thank you very much, Miss Adela, for the valuable insight you share with us today. That concludes our session for today. On behalf of the organizing team, I'd like to express our heartfelt gratitude to both of our esteemed speaker, Dr. Nur Aisyah binti Abu Syah and Miss Adela Hemelikova, as well as to all of you, our participants, for your active participation. Thank you again, everyone, for the successful session. We look forward to seeing you at the future event. Have a great day and stay safe. I'm Negi Al-Fajri, and I close with Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thanks,
Thank
Miss
you
Adela.
too for invitation, and hopefully see you soon in Padang.
Ya, terima kasih, Miss
Anyone,
Adela.
all.
Semangat
Good afternoon.
melanjutkan studi PhD-nya.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. See you. Pada